thought it was you and me.
Everyone, my name's Ema and welcome to or back to my channel. So for today's video, I have my August wrap up. I am so sorry that I haven't uploaded in like 4 days. I'm still trying to figure out my new schedule and everything and how to like balance everything out. For now, I think I'm gonna keep going with the post every 3 days, and if that gets to be too much, then I will probably lessen it. But yeah, without further ado, let's get right into the video. So in August, I read a total of 11 books, and the first book that I read was The Worst Best Man by Mia Sosa. This was so good. I think I rated it 4 stars. It is about this woman who gets left at the altar, and she ends up having to work years later with her ex-fiance and the fiance's brother. She was left at the altar. The brother of the fiance is actually the one who told her, so she kind of has some hostility towards him and the brother as well. I thought this book was so cool because it focuses in the DMV area, and that's where I'm from. So like she actually uses actual like street names, and I'm like, oh my gosh, that's like 20 minutes away, 15 minutes away, 10 minutes away. So yeah, I thought that was super cool. I think I'm gonna read more from her because I think a lot of her books focus in on the DMV area, but I thought this was so good. I rated it why do I always do that? I rated it 4 stars and I really enjoyed it. The next book that I read was It Ain't Me Babe by Tilly Cole. I rated this 4 stars, I believe, and it is about this, it is about this girl who is escaping a cult. She's lived in this cult her entire life, and the president of an MC club, and they've actually met when they were younger. He stumbles across like the compound and she's outside of the compound, and so he actually has a bad stutter and he doesn't speak to anyone, and he ends up being able to actually speak to her when they're younger. And then later on, when she escapes the cult, years later, she finds herself at that MC club, and it's super cute, such a good romance. It was very dark, so this isn't for like the faint what is it called, faint of heart. Yeah, so yeah, I really enjoyed this, and I don't typically like MC club romances like that, but this was really good. The next book I read was You Deserve Each Other by Sarah Hoggle, and this is one of my favorite books of the year. This was so good. It's basically about this girl it's about this couple who is engaged, and they kind of have fallen out of love with each other, and they live together, and it's just too much. And yes, so they are like, I think about a month or 2 away from the wedding, and she realizes that he's trying to drive her away. She takes it upon herself to do the same, so they're both kind of like playing mean tricks on each other and doing things to have the other person call off the wedding, because none of them actually want to do it, because Naomi thinks that Nicholas would be get all the pity and people would blame her for them not getting married. And we don't really get inside his head at all. It's like a mystery. We're really relying only on Naomi and not on Nicholas, because we see like different sides of Nicholas. So I thought that was really cool. I loved getting this only the perspective of her, because we never really knew where he was at. It was so cute. They found each other again. They fell in love again, and it was just so good. And when I was reading this, I was like, oh my gosh, I'm so scared to get married, like, but it ended up being so cute, and it's one of my favorite reads of 2020. I rated this 5 stars. Then I read 4 books for my video of reading historical romances for the first time. I'm not going to go into much detail on that, but I'll just show you and tell you the ratings of each of them. So first, this is not the first book that I read. The first book that I read was Duke of Her Own by Eloisa James. I rated this 5 stars. This is my all-time favorite so far, all time. I've only read like 5, but this one is definitely a new favorite. And then I read The Devil Who Tamed Her by Joanna Lindsey. I rated this 3 stars. I really didn't like it that much, and it was just overall like a meh book. And then I read The Rogue Not Taken by Sarah McLean. I rated this 4 stars, and again, it was good, but a lot of scenes were meh and pretty boring. And last, I read Forbidden by Beverly Jenkins. I rated this 3 stars. I thought it was really boring and not a lot happened. So yeah, those are the 4 historicals that I read for that video. I will have it here if I find out how to do the card thingy. If not, it'll be down there. And I read, this was not part of the video, but I read this shortly after. I read When a Scot Ties the Knot by Tessa Dare. I think I rated this 5 stars. Let me make sure. It 4 stars. This is so cute. It's basically about this girl who is having to, what is that? You see, historical romance terms I still get very confused with, but she is entering her season, I think that's the name of it, where she has to start like meeting men and getting to know them, but she has really bad social anxiety and she just doesn't want to do that. So she tells her family that she actually has already met a man and he is a captain, and he's away at war right now, so she's writing him letters, and she is actually writing and addressing to Captain Logan Mackenzie, but she doesn't know that there's actually a Captain Logan Mackenzie. So one day she, I think it was her grandfather or her uncle, gives her a castle for both of them, and one day she moves in and he shows up and is like, hi love. She is very confused because she's like, wait, I thought you didn't exist. I was writing letters to you, you know? And so she's really embarrassed and she's very confused, but they end up falling in love. He is like after her for his own agendas. He wants to live in that castle and have his men live in the castle because the men don't really have anything left after the war. So it was very cute, super good. I rated it 4 stars. And then I read A Court of Mist and Fury by Sarah J. Maas. I rated this 5 stars. I have a reaction blog out for that, so check that out if you are interested. And this was so freaking good. I cried so much while reading this. I feel like I'll just tell you guys a brief thing. Actually, it's gonna be hard to tell you what it's about. But it was really good. I feel like most people will know what it's about. I have my video out on that as well, so you can check that out. It is spoilers, so yeah, I don't really know how to explain this. It's like, I really don't know how. Then for the Page Turners book club, I read Full Disclosure by Cameron Garrett, and I rated this, I think I rated it 3 stars. It really wasn't that great in my opinion, and I know a lot of people who read the book for the club, and the host of the club didn't really like it as much either. It is about this girl who is HIV positive, and she was born that way. Her mom gave it to her while she was born that way. And yes, so basically it's her living with this secret in her new school, and she's making friends, and she just started dating this guy, and she doesn't know what to do. She doesn't want to tell anybody because at her last school people found out and like terrorized her and made fun of her. So she's trying to move on with her life and just keep it a secret that she's HIV positive. But this book talks a lot about sex positivity, and if it is very important and very true, it's very important to learn about and read about. And this book was supposed to be informative, but in my opinion, it just got kind of boring and dull. Like the whole all her and her friends were talking about was sex and sex and sex, and like I didn't really like that much. So I rated it 3 stars. Also, there's like a low-key mystery element as well. She is getting notes at her new school saying if you don't break up with this guy, I'm going to tell everybody that you're HIV positive. So there is a little mystery element. All in all, I just didn't like it that much, but you should check it out and read it for yourself. It just wasn't my cup of tea. And the last book that I read in August was Sicko by Amo Jones. I received this as an ARC, and it was so good, super dark, everything that I love. I love Amo Jones so much. It is basically about this girl. She was adopted when she was younger, and she lives with her family that adopted her, and her brother have a very, very close relationship. Yeah, it's very taboo. When she's older, so her and her brother have a very close relationship all throughout growing up, and when she gets older, one day he just kind of disappears, and for 4 years he's gone, and she hasn't heard from him. She misses him, and at the time that he's gone, a lot of bad things are happening to her, so it was very hard to read about as well. At the end, it did have a pretty good message, and there were a lot of taboo elements and a lot of plot twists, so I recommend it to everyone. Also, I'm so glad that Amo Jones decided to put a trigger warning in the beginning of Sicko, because in all of her other books she doesn't really do trigger warnings. So yes, so I'm just gonna take it as the trigger warnings now, because I would hate for anybody to go into this, and because she doesn't say exactly what the trigger warnings are, so I'll just tell you. There's trigger warnings for rape, sexual assault, what else? I think that's about it, honestly. So yeah, I really enjoyed this book, and I rated it 5 stars, and I'm so glad that I was able to get an arc of this, because I love everything that Amo writes. So yeah. So that wraps up every book that I read in August. I'm so glad this was super short and I didn't read that much. Maybe I'm going to start to read less books so this doesn't take forever. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed it. And also let me know if you think posting once a week would be too little or it would be too little, or if you think like posting 3 times a week would be too much, because I'm really trying to figure out and balance all of this that's going on. So I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you next time. Bye.